Hi guys, welcome back to Titanic Greed. George and I are your hosts today.
What's up, everybody?
Um, and basically, what's happening right now is everyone's prepping for their various RCs. So the upcoming RCs that I know of are RC Vegas and RC Antwerp in Europe, and I'm sure there's more going on. I am prepping for RC Vegas, which won't be this weekend, but the next weekend. Um, and yeah, should be really fun. We've been testing and playing a lot. I guess recent results were from RC China, where there were actually three Boros decks in the top eight. One Amulet deck made it, and I think it was Jeskai or something. No, there were zero Jeskais in top eight, which is actually crazy to me.
Surprising. Yeah, that deck's been pretty strong recently.
Um, yeah, very interesting that it didn't put up very good results. After it was like 20% meta share over there. So I don't know. Maybe the Jeskai players just didn't have like their build sorted out or something yet, or the deck's maybe a little less powerful than we thought it was, or people are just more prepared. But that was sort of an interesting result. But yeah, we'll dive right into Jeskai first because it's just sort of the forefront of modern at the moment. What everyone's thinking about, the new deck that came out, and you're gonna play against it in like half of your matches if you go to any tournaments or you play online or anything. So yeah, you got anything on Jeskai, George?
On Jeskai. Okay, Jeskai lists have been adapting to the popularity of Titan and also Jeskai mirrors. Strict Serenade has become a really popular 2 to 3 of in a lot of these lists. And that's a really problematic card for Amulet because it counters the Aftermath Analyst or Escape Shift lines, and that will kill us if we just pacted for it. It counters Titans and gives us a bird, which is just a pretty bad trade off, if you ask me. So that's rough. Main deck subtleties have been popping up here and there. Ashiok's in the board. Yeah, just adjusting, putting some hate in the deck for us. Elish Norn, Mother Machines in the sideboard. We've seen that a little bit. That shut down Reed in a match the other day. It was pretty tough to watch.
Yeah, I think in terms of this hate, I just there are some cards that you can beat and some cards that you can't. And I think the best way to optimize is to play um proactive cards that will beat the cards you can't beat, and then just sort of ignore the stuff you can't. And by the stuff you can't, I mean Ashiok and Elishnorn. So right now, for our audio only listeners, we're looking at this first place list in the Sunday Modern Super Qualifier in Toronto. The deck builder decided to put only two Ragavans in, which I'm sure many other people won't do. Maybe it's a good strat. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
but the main thing we're looking at over here is the two Strict Serenades in the main, the two Ashioks in the sideboard, and the one of Elish Norn in the sideboard. So, yeah, once again, it's very difficult to beat Ashiok and Elish Norn. There aren't really good cards out there to deal with them effectively without essentially um, turning your sideboard into a card disadvantage board. Um, I think that playing something like Lithomantic Barrage, No Elemental Blast, blah blah blah, all these little answers, um, is taking away from what you should be doing with your Titan deck, which is making it have good ramp, good card advantage, and getting across the finish line before your opponent can throw too much hate out there.
Yeah, I
um,
agree. Yeah, one of the things, the texture of this matchup has changed a lot when the Jeskai player has 1 mana up because before we can play around a consign with a lot of lines that we have, but we can't play around strict serenade on a lot of these. And we have to think about it because there's multiple strict serenades in the main in a lot of decks now.
well, I think that Green Suns plays around Strixhaven pretty well.
Green Suns does play around it pretty well.
as well as another card we'll talk about a little more, Stock Up. Those two
Stock
cards I
up.
feel like do really well against Strix Serenade.
Yeah. Stock up has been quite a revelation for Reed's stream. If you've been watching recently, the card is pretty good. Reed, you want to say some words about stock up?
I will. I just got a comment here that I'm gonna read real quick. Honestly, Hex Drinker doesn't seem insane. Okay, so real funny side note here. We tested Hex Drinker for a whole stream. Um, I mean, we like technically won with it, right? But only because we drew Escape Shift to sort of enable loops on the Hex Drinker. Otherwise, we would have died before we could actually get the Hex Drinker to full strength swing. I think the problem with Hex Drinker is they have more bounce effects than you'd think. And no, actually, hold on. This is against Simic. I'm blowing smoke.
Yeah, that was against Simic.
But they have prismatic ending. Imagine you get your Hex Drinker to 7. Anyway, anyway,
Yeah.
we'll move on to the more serious discussion. If it's okay, George, I'm just gonna like really dive into this deck building. Unless we have anything more on like we could talk about Jeskai
Yeah, let's
after.
dive into it. I'm currently playing your exact list because I think it's really good. So, yeah, let's talk about our list.
So I'll give you guys a bit of background. I've been playing, 3 Malevolent Rumbles, 3 Green Suns, and 3 Scape Shifts for a while, just sort of as the in between glue cards in the deck list. Just because I saw a bunch of really good win rates with Malevolent Rumble and Green Suns, and I figured they were doing better than Explore. I did think that Malevolent Rumble is better than Explore, but it left something to be desired, especially in the Jeskai matchup, because you play your Malevolent Rumble, they play Felia, they flicker your token, you're just like, okay, well, that Rumble fetched me 1 card for 2 mana, great, like, not that ideal. And since Jeskai is, really is a third of what you're going to be playing against, I don't know. If somehow you dodge it, that's insane. I have played 50% Jeskai matchups in the last like 4 days. So you're going to be seeing a lot of it. We need something better against that matchup while not making our deck bad. So I was testing against Discoto, who's in the Amulet Discord, and we were playing a bunch of rounds of Jeskai as well as Boros, and we were just trying to like get the feel for how we could best sideboard. And we played a lot of rounds. I mean, like 20, 25 on the Malevolent Rumble build. And it was winning, but only like, 50%, 55%. Not my ideal rate into Disco, who's like not even a Jeskai player. Like against better Jeskai players, it might just be terrible. So we were trying to think of ways to improve the list and make it so we were winning at a higher rate. And some of the conclusions that we came to were, 1, Dryad Arbor is insane and really hard to kill in the format at the moment. So being able to, because the only way your opponent really has of killing Dryad Arbor early in the game, right? They can kill with Flage, whatever. They cut those. Is Solitude. Like Prismatic Ending doesn't work. People don't run a lot of bolts. People don't run a lot of fatal pushes. So them pitching a Solitude to kill your Dryad Arbor, you spent 1 mana on that Green Sun Zenith. That's insane. You spent 1 mana to remove 2 cards from their hand, where the Solitude could totally take over the game. Later in the game, they now have lost it from their hand. Counter argument to that is they like pitching stuff because of Quantum Riddler and lets them redraw, but that's a side tangent. You hint them with a 1 mana spell. Insane.
Yeah.
As well as Green Sun Zenith being what you want to play at the moment. Because of Strict Serenade, you want to be able to cast Green Sun Zenith, as well as Subtlety, right? Those 2 spells, just Green Sun's absolutely sidestepping them is insane. Green Sun Zenith is just something you want to max out on. Obviously, it's a little awkward against Ashiok, but everything's awkward against Ashiok. Good luck winning that match. So I just can't recommend enough playing 4 Green Suns. And in order to play 4 Green Suns, you need to have Dryad Arbor in your list. Like you never You never want to be running that many Green Suns without the Arbor in your list. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's too awkward to draw multiple.
yeah. And it's so free. It's such a free Llanowar Elves. It turns all of your Green Suns into Llanowar Elves. Like, come on. We should be playing the Dryad Arbor. If you don't like it, honestly, get over it. Like, I'm 100% sure that it's correct. Okay, so now I'll dive into. Okay, unless George, you have anything to say on the topic, I'm gonna sort of dive into the theory of why this works.
Yeah, like when they have the strict serenade and subtleties, we can do a complete scape shift line sometimes if we go scape shift into GSZ analyst and start getting into it. Like that's not super far off from something that can happen. And Reed's probably done that a few times, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
Yeah.
Scapeshift being
So
the
that's
premier
really
way.
nice.
Scapeshift being the premier way to kill against a Jeskai opponent.
Yeah, scape shift has been a very effective win condition against Jeskai. I've beat Jeskai a few times with scape shift and yeah, pretty easy.
Okay, so now I'm gonna get into the nitty gritty theory of why I built the deck the way that I built it. That'll involve talking about stock up, Green Suns, and Scapeshift. Real quick, I'll just sort of go over a, you know, quick breakdown of what it looks like for my audio only listeners. Try and get it as clear in your mind as possible. So 32 lands. One of those lands is Dryad Arbor. So really just 31 lands is how I think of it. You can play less, I guess. One of the weird quirks of my list is I have 4 forests. I just enjoy being able to cast my grazers on turn 1, as well as my Green Suns for 0 on turn 1. So to me, the forests are really important. I have 6 bounces. Enough about lands. You can build your own mana base. We'll get into the non-lands real quick. So we'll have 28 non-land permanents. We have the stock 4 Grazer, 4 Amulet, 4 Spelunking, 4 Titan, and the 1 Aftermath Analyst, as always. The other thing that is a little more of a creative liberty is the Summoner's Pacts, which I'm playing 2 of. I don't think playing 3 is ideal at the moment. You could. It probably want to change your win rate too much, but 2 has been perfectly fine. You don't really need to worry about milling it over with, whatever, because you have Green Sun Zenith. Anyway, that's getting out of the point. I want to discuss like our mana curve and how we're sort of jumping up steps. And to do that, we'll talk about the more creative liberties that I took in building this list. So I'm running 3 scape shifts. I think scape shift is really good, but it's not something you love to draw in multiples. So running 3 is what I think is ideal. And to specify, you can draw it in multiples and it's fine, but you often don't need the second one. And if you don't have an amulet effect and you have 2 scape shifts in hand, it's just super awkward, and you'd prefer not to have that. I'm running 4 Green Sun Zeniths for reasons I previously talked about. And then we have 2 slots, 2 open slots that we can play anything. And my consideration was, all right, we could play Malevolent Rumble, or we could play something else. And the thing we're playing is Stock Up. We're playing 2 Stock Ups in the main. I never really loved it as a sideboard card, but it's been working wonders as a main board card, as sort of this replacement for Explore and Malevolent Rumble. So first I'll justify why we can play Stock Up and why it's castable, and why we can sort of think of it on the same level as Malevolent Rumble or Explore. So looking at our deck list, we have 4 Grazers, 4 Amulets, and 4 Green Suns for 0. This gives us 12 sources to be able to get to stock up mana on turn 2. I've really been loving this. It's been really strong to have 12 sources to get to 3 mana on turn 2, because we get to cast Spelunking as well. Like, that's a super important part of our curve. Having amulet redundancy is really key in being able to safely resolve escape shift, or like a pact for Titan or something. Being able to have that redundant amulet is really necessary. So getting the Spelunking out there, even if you already have an amulet on board, super nice. Or the first one that you need, you Green Suns for Arbor, you cast Spelunking, you're there. So the issue though with Spelunking is it's not great at always finding what you need. A lot of the time you have no lands in hand and you need to cast Spelunking to be able to land this amulet. Uh, or sorry, hold on. You have a lot of lands. You have no lands in hand. You cast the Spelunking looking for the land, and you don't quite hit it. Or you have like a lot of lands in hand. You need a threat. You Spelunking, it doesn't find your threat. And you know, I know how weird the stock up looks. Like it obviously looks like, oh, you finally discovered stock up. Good for you, Reed. Like you're such a genius. We've been playing this for a while, but it's this build that's built around it that really makes it work, especially like even in the main board. And I've had a lot of people saying like, well, this is a sideboard card, we shouldn't be playing at the main board for one matchup, that matchup being Jeskai Blink, because it obviously shines there. So my first thing that I did after testing this list with Disco and finding it to win an absurd amount of games in the Jeskai matchup was we switched over to playing the Boros matchup. And we played like 8 matches with the stock up, and it continued to shine through all 8 matches. And like it was just always something I wanted to draw. I always wanted to get the second amulet, find the Spelunking, the Scape Shift, find the land for Scape Shift that I needed. Whatever I needed, stock up was there. It did it perfectly. It was a great top deck, and it was great in the opener. It was also really easy to cast. I never had issues with mana. That was always one of my big critiques of the card, is like, oh, you have to put like a Servile land or a fetch land in your deck. I don't have either of those in the deck, and the card works perfectly. So Boros, which is like a much more aggro matchup, really good there. I haven't tested too much against Prowess. I'm sure it wouldn't be ideal, but honestly, I'd leave it in. I leave it in against Titan. Titan's a pretty grindy matchup post board. They're blowing up your amulets. You're blowing up their amulets. You stock up to find more amulets and threats and lands or whatever, or escape shift to win the game. You just get there. And I'll deliberate on that escape shift point a little more. The way to win most matchups right now, Jeskai, Boros, Titan, is having scape shift, is being able to scape shift win, because a lot of the time, just casting a Titan on a single amulet is not going to win you the game. So if you have a single amulet, you need to be winning with scape shift, and stock up does that so well. It finds your second amulet plus the scape shift, or it finds you the vestige you need, plus whatever other missing piece you have. It just works really well together. So like this concept of cutting stock up in the fast matchups is not actually correct. Like stock up is a fast card in this build because it gets you to scape shift faster than you previously would have, rather than you having to cast like a naked Titan or something. So that's my thought on that. And then I'm trying to think if I had anything else to talk about. Anyway, that's the mana progression, the mana curve that I wanted to get across. I've been testing this list pretty nonstop. I top 8'd with this list this week in a challenge. I got a 4-1 league, and then we just finished a 3-2 league with it. And I tested against my testing team. I was playing against Boros, so I got like 6 more matches against that. And it was running positive with the stock up. So I really think that Malevolent Rumble is not necessarily the truth. I think it's stock up in this specific build. You cannot be playing stock up without this Green Sun's Dread Arbor combination. You really need it for the turn 3 or the turn 2 to be fast enough. Anyway, so that's my whole rant on mana progression and how my list looks and why I think it's really busted. So busted. Like, I almost did not want to reveal this to everyone before the upcoming RCs, because like I worry that, if everyone adopts it, then there will be a lot more Titan mirrors than I was hoping for, and that would kind of suck. But if you want to play the right list, this is the right list. I'm pretty confident about it.
Yeah, the Titan mirror, you're gonna be playing against stock ups and gemstones, Reed. Yeah, cards that we didn't really have on our radar a little while ago, but they've proven themselves recently. Let's see. What else about this main deck can we talk about? We want to go talk about the sideboard of this deck.
I mean, yeah, if you got any discussion or maybe like
Yeah.
controversy on this main deck that you don't agree with, let me know. Like, we could just talk about that. Let's just take a look at it and
Okay.
sort of
Let
think
me check
through
out the
maybe what the
main deck.
flex slots are as well.
So why does Reed's already explained why he plays the fourth forest. That is for one of the more controversial cards in this deck. It's Yeah, it's not usual. Titan has played three or maybe two forests a lot of the time, but I really like the emphasis on early green sources, especially when this build is playing four GSZ and the Dryad Arbor, trying to cast a 3-drop on turn two. And that's why there's four forest here for that consistency.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, let's talk about the sideboard. That sound good?
Yeah, real quick, I just want to make the last point of if you are playing this build, like I'd really recommend trying to find or trying to mulligan to having a 1-drop in hand. Just because it impacts um how fast your clock is pretty heavily. Because the concept of this list is 1-3 threat. 1-3 threat. Like that's what you want to be doing every game. 1-3 threat. Which I mean,
Yeah, 1 through 6 or 1 3 4. The four being scape shift.
yeah, so like turn one, player one, turn two, player three, turn three, try to win. You know, like it's always the outcome. Though it wins on turn four a fair amount because it is slightly slower. The thing though is like a lot of the decks in the meta are not winning that fast. So yeah, that's all I got on the main deck. Let's look at some sideboarding. If you want to start.
Okay, so our lands, we have Bajuka Bog, which is pretty good against Emrakul, good against Goryeos to grab off of Urza's Cave.
There's actually been a lot of
Um,
debate about Bajuka Bog,
yeah,
whether it's
Bajuka
playable right now.
is it is somewhat cuttable at the moment. It's been pretty nice in some matchups to help ensure that we win them, but we might not need it in those matchups. That's a point that some people have made.
I personally thought about
For
cutting it to
Yeah,
be honest. Like
yeah, we could.
I don't think it's
What
like
would
the
you?
strongest
Yeah.
card
What would you
ever.
be interested in playing instead of Bajuka Bog if you were to cut that?
Well, that's the thing is like there's not what I believe the amulet sideboard to be is like the cards in the sideboard aren't very good, so you only want to be playing 2 to 4 cards if you can get away with it. Like the optimal would be only bring in 2 to 4 cards. Your list does its job on its own, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so the issue is like there aren't that many generically good cards in you know the top deck matchups right now. So I don't feel the need to add anything else. It's just like Bog works against what it works against, which is Emrakul, Goryeos, and random graveyard Grixis Reanimator stuff going on. It does its job, and it's also a land, so I can cut a land for it and not have to cut one of my very tight main deck slots.
Yeah, and then we have fourth Beseju in the sideboard. That one has felt pretty essential with Boros playing two main deck Blood Moon and possibly bringing in a third out of the sideboard. Amulet Mirror is obviously one of the big matchups right now. And Beseju shines in a lot of niche matchups like Brood Scale. We've seen that be pretty impactful, and yeah, the occasional Belcher opponent. Gemstone Caverns has been a kind of a revelation for Reed recently. He's been playing at every game where he goes second, and it's been showing up in some hands and getting him some real fast starts that he wouldn't have had.
Moving on to Vexing Bubble. This is actually an interesting concept. Not been citing in Vexing Bubble against Jeskai. I'm not going to give you guys my whole plan on how I sideboard against Jeskai because I have a sideboard guide that's paid and I'd like people to buy that if possible. But I don't even bring them in against Jeskai because I have this minimal concept like sideboard minimally, and let's see. So first off, I like 2 Vexing Bubble. They're great in the matchups where they're great in, but I don't think Jeskai's that strong to have it in. You could have one, I guess. But like I have other cards in my main deck I'm trying to get across the finish line. I want to cast my ones, I want to cast my threes, and I want to have threats. And 4 of those threats are Green Sun Zenith, which are uncounterable by Strix and Subtlety. So there's really not that many non-land cards I want to cut in the matchup. And having this like 1 mana artifact that's like not productively generating value is sort of middling because the play pattern on my deck is is such that when you cast a Titan on one amulet, the Titan is not your win con. The Titan is a ritual. The Titan goes and finds like Simic T West so that you can on the following turn cast Analyst, win the game. Um, or like cast Escape Shift or something that you need. Because Escape Shift is how I've been finding myself to win games because Solitude just hard stops your Titan. And you're like, okay, well that's great. So what I'm saying is this Titan is expendable, so you don't actually care that much about Solitude. And spending a card out of your hand to prevent the Solitude probably didn't matter. And if you have Scapeshift in your hand, you can't go for the Scapeshift line with the Vexing Bauble on the field. So it's just awkward in a lot of ways that I don't like. And I will note the cards that it is stopping, which is the 2 of Subtlety that your opponents are playing, and the potential 1 of Force of Negation, which your opponents are usually not bringing that in against you, or just don't even have it in their deck. Like Force of Negation is pretty rare in the Jeskai deck. I have been liking it against Simic Ritual. How's that matchup been going for you?
Simic Ritual. I don't have a ton of experience with the matchup. I've watched a lot of that matchup from high level tables, and yeah, it's just there's so many problem cards, and a lot of them are free. So Vexing Bauble has some pretty good equity in that matchup. But yeah, Harbinger is rough, and yeah, Vexing Bauble stops some very important cards like Subtlety and Flare of Denial.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one.
I don't know. The Vexing Bubble's sort of been falling off a little bit. And I made this point to some other really good Titan players, and they agreed with me that like, just Vexing Bubble in the Jeskai matchup is not feeling like it's really doing its job. Moving on, Insidious Fungus is in my sideboard. Am I sure about it 100%? No, but I'm sure about it like 70%. I really like it against Boros, and I really like it against Zoo. And I have 4 green suns in my deck, so let's just play a Disenchant that I can fetch with that. Uh, Totally might be bait, but I've been enjoying it. Like, sort of proactively finding it off of Green Suns, being like, I don't really need to produce my mana anymore. I already have Escape Shift next turn that I'm just going to win with. So I might as well just go grab a Fungus, see if they play a Blood Moon or a Damping Sphere, and then blow that up and win on my turn, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
notably, if they play a Blood Moon and you don't have any basics, you can still crack the Fungus through that if you got it out earlier.
yeah, it's really
It's
nice.
nice.
It's been nice, but you have to do it proactively most of the time. Like, I haven't done it retroactively often where they cast the Blood Moon and then I go Green Suns for it.
Yeah.
I haven't had that play pattern come up yet, so. Oh, this is an interesting one. 4th Scape Shift in the sideboard.
Mm,
So
yeah.
this one, like, hmm. So I mentioned earlier that I thought I was very centered on Scape Shift with my build. Like, all I'm trying to do is set up a board state where the Scape Shift is unbeatable. And stock up sort of makes your deck smaller in the way that you go and find more Scape Shifts. And against Jeskai, you want to be casting Escape Shift late, not early. You don't want to be doing this like turn 4. Oh, I have 4 forests, I'm going to sack everything. Unless they're just completely tapped out. And then you're probably fine to go for it, unless they have Subtlety. But you want to do sort of a late Scape Shift where you're like, oh, I get Cave and I get, a bunch of other lands, and I'm able to keep 4 mana on the battlefield so I can cast the Pact with impunity. Like, all these things together work really well. So having 3 Scape Shifts, I think, makes it so you can cast those late game Scape Shifts, or that you'll have it in hand pretty often during the late game. So I think that 3 across the 75 could be correct, but I'm a little paranoid about it because it's so important to my list being able to win that I put the 4th in the sideboard and I bring it in the matchups where it's good, which is Jeskai, Boros, every combo deck, every fast deck, not affinity, yeah. So all those things. Dismembers are boring. We don't need to talk about them. I like 3, but you could probably run 2 and be fine. I only bring 2 against Jeskai. A little bit of free info for you there. Make sure to buy my sideboard guide. And the I Still Explorer in the sideboard. It's been it's been okay. You know, my initial concept was that we bring it in against Jeskai, but I might change it out for another stock up. Because honestly, I want to cast stock up more than Ice Till. It is fetchable off Green Suns, which is very notable. But if I don't like it against
Yeah.
Jeskai, it's not going to my sideboard. So I don't
What if you
know.
played two more stock up in the sideboard?
Um,
That could be fun.
two more stock up. I think just the one would be. I
Yeah.
think four might be too many.
Four might be copium for the matchups, but
It is fun when you have double amulet and you cast stock up, and then you like go find another stock up, and then you cast the next stock up. And you just keep going. It's great.
yeah,
It's
the stock up
really
chain is
fun.
fun. Yeah, a little bit about Scape Shift. Yeah, I think Scape Shift is there's some matchups where it's really, really good, and that's where we want the fourth one. And there's some where it's really bad, where the fourth one's in our sideboard, so we don't even have to bring it in. But it's good to like really double down on Scape Shift being great in certain matchups.
Yeah, I could totally see it running at main board as well, but I really don't know what you'd cut. The non-land slots are so unbelievably tight in this deck list. Like to make this list function well, I really think two of stock up is necessary. I don't think you want three. I don't think you want one. I think the two of just runs really smoothly, helps you find the pieces you need, and assemble a analyst win from there. Um, I think, yeah, I totally think three would be too many. Um, too many three drops in your deck. I don't want that many three drops. I want to cast the rest of my stuff. And then yeah, so that's pretty much all I've got. I run three Force of Vigors. You know, whoop de doo, big deal. You beat Titan and uh,
Affinity,
Affinity.
Brute Skill.
I wouldn't run the third if my sideboard slots were tight, but they're not tight at all. Like all of this is stuff I'm bringing in very lightly. I sort of season my deck a little tiny bit with my sideboard in every matchup. I try not to
Yeah,
dump
just
the whole
sprinkle
pepper
a little
jar on
bit
it.
of sideboard salt on the deck.
All right. Well, anything else on the list? I don't think I got anything else.
No,
So we could think about some potential GSC targets is something we're going to discuss. And we could maybe have like a rating scale for GSC targets. I don't know. Would that be that might be bad because it's so
oh no, that'd be
subjective to
fun.
different matchups.
People, well, I don't know. People like rankings. People like it when you give your takes on
Okay.
stuff that's good
But let's
or
rank stuff
not.
on the objective 0 to 10 scale. So no like
Yeah,
everything's a 7. If it's average, it's a 5. All right?
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Tier list content and I'm not in on this. House, join the call. We would love to have you as a guest, but maybe, I mean, but if you want to join, you can. I'm totally down. Uh,
oh, you talking about the Discord call?
yes,
Oh, isn't it in the other one he's not in?
that is fair.
Yeah.
Um, and let's see. So so GST targets being Ice Till and Insidious Fungus in my deck. I'll rate them how I think. Honestly, I think Ice Till is a 6.5, and I think Insidious Fungus is a um I think at face value Insidious Fungus is like a 4, but the fact that it's 1 mana and you have 4 Green Suns in your deck, like okay, let's say you're not running Green Suns in your deck. It would be a 4. You don't want to put that in your sideboard. You would have to draw it and it's just like sort of awkward when you draw. But because it's a 1 mana card that you're that you're able to fetch off of 4 different Green Suns, I put it up to like a 5. I think Insidious Fungus is a 5. And I'm happy with it. And then I guess you should give grades on Ice Till and Fungus on what you think. I'm interested.
Okay, Ice Till, I'm gonna say is around a 6 for me. I haven't been super impressed with it, but it does pretty solid work. it's a good value creature, not a insane one. There isn't really an insane green value creature that's super cheap.
If you want to
And
run like alternate sideboard GSC targets, there's six in Tyler's tracker. Totally don't fault you if you change those cards around in this sideboard. I just needed something to Green Suns for that was valuable in the mid game. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, Ice Till isn't like this matchup specific card. Like I want to win this matchup by having one Ice Till in my sideboard. As Reed said, it's a nice value target, and that's why it gets a 6 for me. It's not insane. Insidious Fungus. I haven't played too much with this card, but from what I've seen, it's pretty good. Face value, of course, is a little bad, and the card has a pretty good function against certain matchups. So it's also I would say this one's like a 5.5 around there. It's a little above average. It doesn't do anything flashy or too powerful. It's somewhat clunky sometimes, so that's something. Like you have to if you want to kill something immediately by GSZ for fungus, it does cost 4 mana to do that, but
I
it's
agree. It's a
better
little
than
clunky.
yeah, it's better than not having the answer to the blood moon or problematic permanent damping sphere or whatever it is.
What about Oof for you?
Collector Oof feels pretty mid right now. It's it's just Collector Oof might be below a 5 just because of how limited the matchups it's good in are. There's not very much on the top of the meta that this card hits. Belcher is having a little bit of a resurgence after a pretty bad RC season and low win rate at the PT, I think, for that deck. It did win the PT, but the deck overall didn't do very well. So that's where Oof shines the most is the Goblin Charbelcher matchups. And it's decent against Affinity, but not even that great because sometimes they'll just improvise in a Kappa Cannoneer and kill you with that. So that's a little awkward there, but it can shut them down if you're on the play and they have some Mox Opals or whatever trying to get a fast start and they can't.
To me,
So
Collector Oof.
not for
Yeah. Or go ahead. What's your grade? What's your grade for it?
my grade is going to be a I'll give it a 5 because it shines where it needs to, but it's not a card I'm very hyped to have. It's very average and borderline cuttable sometimes in my mental space concerning the sideboard. I'm like, is this really good enough? Does it hit enough matchups to be played? And I think because of the GSZ density of the deck, it's good enough because you can get it in the matchups where you need it. And it only takes up one sideboard slot to play an oof. So that's okay. And as Reed was saying, the sideboard slots aren't super tight right now, and you don't need a board like 8 cards in any matchup right now. So it's okay to have that one silver bullet for just a couple matchups.
I'm gonna give it a 4, and that's all I have to say on it.
Yeah,
I,
sure.
it's
That's
it's
completely
there.
fair.
It's there. Sideboard's
I thought
not
of
not
giving
two
it a
packs, so we
4,
might as well
but
have a bullet for
yeah.
Belcher. But I just don't even. I don't even like it against Affinity, and that's crazy. Like, come on, the card should be
No,
good
it's
against
it's
Affinity.
not that crazy just because of how Affinity plays nowadays.
And this is an opinion unique to me. I think I've talked to a lot of really good Titan players about this, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, you should be running, Oof against Affinity." But when I have, Green Suns on the draw against Affinity, and they've already dropped their freaking cap on me, and I'm like, "Well, here's a Green Suns for Oof. Hope this stops
Yeah.
you." It feels
Yeah.
so unbelievably weak that I really dislike it. Anyway, varying opinions.
Yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily count myself as authority here, but like I don't enjoy it in the matchup personally.
yeah. And how is Collector Roof going to stop the Cyborg Tifa Lockhart out of Affinity? Like, it just doesn't do it, so yeah, Tifa Lockhart, if you didn't know, it was the poison dart frog of the Affinity deck that won the China regional championship. Is that the winner of the regional championship, or is that
Yeah,
a
it was the
different
winner
event?
that had a Tifa on the
Yeah,
side.
yeah, the regional.
Yeah, make sure to put
Yeah,
emotional support cards in your sideboard. That's always
you
poison dart
put
frog.
emotional support creature in your sideboard, you will win the tournament. It's 2 for 2 at this point, I believe.
Thoughts on 6?
I kind of like 6. I think it's a pretty strong value card in those grindy matchups where they're destroying stuff. The problem is most of the stuff is getting exiled right now. And like, Reed, are you excited to play 6 against Jeskai Blink?
No.
Yeah, it does block Ragavan, but they're probably gonna flicker out your 6 with Felia and hit with the Rag anyways. So
I agree that it
yeah,
blocks Ragavan, sure.
it does block Ragavan well, and if they destroy some of your stuff like an amulet somehow, but they just prismatic ending the
Yeah.
thing or
How often have
counter
you been
it.
able to swing a creature against your Jeskai
Yeah,
Blank
like you
opponent?
don't get a swing against them. They're gonna solitude the 6.
Okay, let's try to think of like upside to 6. I do think it's here's my thoughts on 6. I think 6 has the highest ceiling of all these creatures and the lowest floor of all these creatures. As in, if you're a really good 6 player, you're a really good 6 player. You can do awesome things with it. I'm so like scape shift brained, like go fast, make things all piece together in this perfect puzzle to where I win. Where it's like very tight and no air is coming out. If you're the type of player that's like more easygoing, slow, uh, recast your stuff from the graveyard over multiple turns, like prevent your opponent from killing you, maybe 6 will work for you. And I think it has really high upside if you can recast certain things. I'm just not that type of player, which is why it's not in my deck. So if you wanted to change out I still for 6, don't blame me at all. I think that's perfectly reasonable. But if you are a, you know, run a tight ship and make it go very, very fast type of player, I would not recommend playing the card. For me personally, I'd give it like a, because I'm just never bringing it in. My main deck is tight. I don't need an additional 3-drop that just dies super fast.
It gets a 4 from me.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it like 4.5. I like it. I like it at 4.5.
Yeah.
Um, as long as you can sideboard it in, and most of the time I just can't find a justification to bring it in.
I played 6 in my sideboard for a long time, and I never knew when to bring it in, and never felt like bringing it in against a lot of these decks.
Yavi Maya over Fourth Forest. That is a based take. I love it. Honestly,
Wow.
if you wanted to run Yavi Maya, probably could. It
That would
it would be
kind of be
decent.
dope.
Yeah. I just have the Fourth Forest in because it's green and it casts turn 1 stuff. I don't care about it versus Blood Moon or anything else. But I would agree that it's potentially worse than a basic forest
Yeah.
because there are those upsides of playing it against Blood Moon, playing against Harbinger, being
I
able to
think the
fetch
Blood
it.
Moon upside is so much better than Yavimaya. And when you have one basic forest, you should have the double green that you need when you play a Vestige or a Bounce land to cast Titan or Shift. So I don't
If you
think
tap
having
a
all your lands make green is that important, but it could be worth testing.
if you tap like a Simic Growth Chamber under Damping Sphere with the Yavi Maya on field, it does tap for green, right?
I believe so because it has the option to tap for green.
New use case unlocked. Let's
Oh wait,
go.
actually, wait, does it?
I believe
If
so.
it says no, no, if a land would tap for
But you
multiple
have this
mana, it has
alternate
that
option. You
instead.
use the
Yeah, you
alternate
have the
option.
alternate. You use the alternate, so it isn't tapping for multiple. Yeah, it's that works.
Basic Forest. Yeah, I love Basic Forest, man. It's just great.
It is
Okay,
an
let's get through
awesome.
these last meme sideboard targets. Well, we shouldn't say meme. Tracker's pretty good. Trackers are pretty. Oh, Elvish Reclaimer. Let's talk about Elvish Reclaimer.
Ooh, Reclaimer. Yeah, let's talk about that guy.
So, my personal thought is Elvish Reclaimer is probably optimal. And You might ask, Reed, why are you playing it in your deck list?
Yeah, but
Again, it's because
why is it?
I'm this like speed gamer, cast scape shift early type of thing. I really don't like slow games or games where I'm trying to, get little GSC target creatures on the field, make them all work together. I'm not great at it, and I think that Reclaimer doesn't win against Jeskai. Is my other take. That might be a really hot take because they're playing Charmaw and you can like sack your land, get a bounce land in response. To bounce, or not a bounce land, any land. You just sack the land they target
Yeah,
with the
just
Charmaw.
backline. Yeah.
So honestly, I think Elvish Reclaimer has a ton of upside. It's just super not my playstyle, and I don't know how well it would work in this style of list because I haven't tested it. If you want to test it, feel free. I'd give Elvish Reclaimer honestly 5.5. I'm giving it 5.5.
I'm gonna give Elvish Reclaimer 6.5. I think it's a really good card.
So for me though, on my scale, my personal gameplay, 3.5. I cannot. I never bring it in. I hate green sunsing for it. I really don't like that it dies so quickly, and I don't like that it's like a lot of the time it's mana neutral rather than mana positive. Or that I have to tap, the Claimer's mana for rather than casting a different spell in my hand. I feel like you'd be weak with stock up because you have so many spells in your hand that you're trying to get across the board, and you're not really running out of gas at any point. And Reclaimer is more of a card where you're running out of gas. So I don't know.
Yeah, Reclaimer's not quite my style. I'm not the most patient person with Titan.
Tracker, I think is pretty dang weak right now. It just like they flayed your tracker, they solitude your tracker. Well, if they solitude your tracker, it's sort of upside, right? That's fine.
Yeah.
But prismatic, it needs to swing. Sometimes you can't swing into their board because they have a Riddler on the board. Like Riddler, I think killed Tracker. It draws more cards than Tracker does and is just simply better. It mogs Tracker on the battlefield. I'm gonna give Tracker like a 2 out of 2.5.
Yeah, since comparing Tracker to Stock Up in the Jeskai matchup, Stock Up wins every time.
Yeah. Um, we already talked a little bit about Hex Drinker that I tested it and didn't
Eh,
love it. I'm giving it a 1.5. Okay. It deserves more than that. It
one.
deserves a 2.
Yeah.
It deserves a 2. It is a really good card
Yeah.
on its on rate. It's good, but I don't think it works well.
I think drinks around a 2.5 for me. It's not that good. It's kind of good on rate though. Dosen. Dosen's been getting some testing recently because there's a lot of really interactive decks, and if you shut them off on your turn, then you can just do whatever the heck you want. It's a GSZ target, which is nice. Why would someone want to play Dosen over Cutzil or another one of those effects? It's
Um.
because
Oh yeah,
it's
go ahead.
double green. It's double green pip and doesn't require you to splash in your mana base.
So I'll just
Yeah,
read
I
off
think
the
that's a
card because it's a little maybe a little more of a sleeper card that not a ton of people know of. Dose in the Falling Leaf. 1 green green 2/2 creature, and it has types human, monk, and it's legendary. Players can only play spells. Players can play spells only during their own turns. Um, so I tried this card out, and I never actually drew it or green suns for it. But in every single game where I was playing it, and the theory here is that it's supposed to be Jeskai Blink, right? Like you stop their Strict Serenade, you stop their Solitude, whatever.
consign, yeah.
Every game that I was in though, I was like, I do not want to use my green suns on a Dosin at all. I want to develop my mana. I want to cast all the spells in my hands. Uh, you know, I want to bait some spells out of my opponent. Like, it never came to a point where I was like, yeah, Dosin would be really good here. And I played multiple matches, with it. Um, multiple being like 5, but there was never a point, and never a point in the future where I was like, man, I really wish I could green suns for Dosin here. I never. It's your Jeskai opponent has their own things going on. They don't only care about what you're doing, unlike a control player. A control player only gives a crap about what you're doing, and they'll do anything to stop it. The Jeskai player they're like, yeah, I'll Felia, I'll Riddler, I'll Flage you, Ragavan, generate a bunch of stuff, I'll Charm all the crap out of you. They've got stuff going on. They don't just care about the Strixhaven in their hand. It's only one of their 7 cards. Like, they are locked in on killing you on like turn 6. The average for me has been like turn 6 where they kill you. With just giga interaction all the time. And the interaction is pretty often on their turn. So again, not a fan of Dosen. I'm giving him a 2.5. I think he could potentially be a card you want if you're really slow Titan player. I don't know.
Yeah, doesn't gets a 3 for me. I don't like how this card takes up a whole one of your turns and then you pass to them and they get to do whatever they want on their turn, possibly remove the Dosen and then pass back to you. It's kind of sketchy. So not the biggest Dosen fan.
Um, the last house suggested card is Wandering Minstrel, which is our last target
That's
that
a
we're
good
considering.
one.
This one's a doozy and complicated. I'll start by saying that a player that I super respect, Nathan of the Guilt Leaf, who has put up insane challenge results in the past 2 months, 3 months. Like just probably the most challenge top 8s or challenge like finals out of any of the current the big amulet gamers, has been playing Minstrel on the main board, as well as this 4 Green Suns thing. So the list looks a little different. I think instead of the 2 stock ups, it's like Analyst
There's a
plus
second
Minstrel.
analyst. Yeah, analyst, minstrel, and then what's the last card? An ice tail, maybe? I can't remember.
Um,
I think it's
honestly,
an ice tail.
for me, when I lose all my amulets, I'm just like, all right, bet I'm gonna either top deck an amulet or try and beat you with nothing, like constructs or just a natural Titan. That's sort of what I like doing when I have no amulets, rather than green sunsing for one. I do think it's more of a backup plan. You never want to like have your first amulet be a green sunsed minstrel. Is that a correct statement? Am I making
Yeah,
exaggerations
I
here?
think I kind of like that statement because it's just a little weird. Like you go turn 1 grazer, put in a Simic Growth Chamber, turn 2, put in whatever untapped land, and then cast a GSZ for 2 for a minstrel. The next turn you have possibly 5, maybe 6 mana if you have like another grazer with a bounce land or a lotus field. Or you have a 3 landscape shift on turn 3 off of the minstrel, and it can get removed. And this is pre-board. If it's pre-board, they're more likely to have low removal spells if they're in certain decks, like a lightning bolt or something. So I don't know. I don't love the idea of it, but I could see it being very versatile, like summoners pacting for it, and then casting escape shift is a very powerful line that I've done myself a couple times in the past, but it's not like the best thing ever, and you often don't need to do that.
So if you had to give it a grade,
I'll give this one I'll give it a 7.5. I think this is a very strong idea, and it's pretty good in the Titan Mirror, where a bunch of Force of Vigors and Besagers are being thrown around to kill Amulet and Spelunking, but those same cards don't kill the Wandering Minstrel, so you can still combo through the disenchants.
mm-hmm. Hmm. For me, I I think that the difference between it being in the main board and it being in the sideboard is pretty important. I tried to run it in the sideboard for a while um as like a target if I was playing against Titan. And guess what? I never played against Titan with it in my sideboard. And it just sort of sat there. And once again, the slots are not tight. You can totally run it in your sideboard. You'll be fine. But I felt like I only ever wanted, with my current build, right, to side it in against Titan. But once again, we're playing four Green Suns. So I definitely think it has a lot of potential. I just don't like it taking up a slot. I don't often feel like I'm wanting to Green Suns for Minstrel. Like it's more of a 10% effect than like 100% effect, like casting stock up or spelunking. Like I always want to do that. I pretty much it's rare that I really want a Green Suns for the Minstrel. And you could say like, oh, you only 10% want a Green Suns for the Insidious Fungus. I agree, but Insidious Fungus is 1 mana. It's in our colors perfectly. It's good in the matchups where it's really good in. Same goes for Minstrel, I guess. But the only matchup where I think it's really super important is the Titan matchup, because you get Force of Vigor like 3 times, you Force of Vigor them 3 times. Everyone's holding up, Oseiju's the whole game, and you're like, well, I really need to land an untapper to be able to cast Escape Shift. What am I gonna do? Minstrel's pretty good there. So in the main, I'm gonna give it like a 7 if you can find a slot for it. I think that's a pretty good grade for it. I think it's quality. I just don't like it because all the cards in my deck I consider to be like 8, but uh in the sideboard, it's it's a nice little 5. It's a nice little 5 in the sideboard. 4.5. You only want it for one matchup, so I'm gonna give it a 4.5 in the sideboard. All right, we can be done grading now.
Yeah,
We can talk about Boros. I really have been enjoying this matchup
Boros.
a ton. It's been so fun. Like I've been testing it
Boros is so fun.
nonstop, and there's just something different about it right now. It's like it's not like it used to be in challenges where you'd like face 6 Boros opponents in a row. There's something different about the deck, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But it's
It's that
interesting.
sucks now.
It's
I'm
that
just
it
kidding.
sucks.
Nah, it's still pretty good.
Um, Maybe it's just the different dynamic of our deck. So it's like we're playing a more um. This is such a stupid analogy. Like, uh, previously our deck was like a bridge, and that bridge got from point A to B across the water very directly. It was like a plank. You got to point A to B with explore into spelunking, like you or into scape shift. You played 4 scape shifts, you played 4 explorers, and you just got to your point or you lost. The Our current builds have like is like a bridge with arches on it. You have to do a little more work to like make the bridge, get over the bridge, but it's pretty, and it's able to get over certain things, and it's a little more sturdy, and you would think that's a little weaker to Boros because Boros is so good at being aggressive, but you're able to just sort of go over some things. I'm not making any sense, but what I'm saying is we played this linear approach previously, our plank, with fire spouts and pyroclasms, and those were okay cards. It was very direct. It's like I need to get rid of your stuff so I can continue my plan, stay alive long enough to win. Because I have no card advantage. I have no cards in my hand. If you counter or not counter, wear tear me, something like that. Versus our current build has a little more staying power and resilience to hate, which means that you don't need the sweepers to stay alive for like 3 more turns. You need you just like I really like stock up in this matchup, which is crazy. I really thought it'd be terrible, but it's actively the main card I want to draw most of the time. Like Amulet's good, Scape Shift's good, but I really want to draw stock up. So if I want an aggro matchup, it's got to be crazy. So I'm happy to have it in the main deck. It's a main deck card. I'm trying to think of other like gameplay patterns I was seeing while we were testing. Another thing is like moons. So
Main deck moon, 2 of them.
So I don't bring in Force of Vigor against the deck because killing Goblin Bombardment is irrelevant. By the time they've landed a Goblin Bombardment, you have lost the game. It's just over. So why would you consider it like a second Force of Vigor target? You're never like holding up Force of Vigor so long that you'll have 2 targets. There'll always be only one target. So To me, pitching a card out of your hand seems terrible. I don't play Force of Vigor in the matchup. Because literally the only targets are the 2 or 3 Blood Moons and 2 Static Prisons. It's a bad card there. So you just have access to this Fungus and the Sages in your deck. You need to make that work somehow against a Blood Moon start from your opponent, because you're probably not killing them before they can Blood Moon you. The answer to it is stock up's pretty good at finding Boseiju in your deck. Like, I had this game where I, Boseiju the first Blood Moon, cast stock up, they cast Blood Moon again. I had another Boseiju or Forest. It helps find Forest too, and you're just able to get across the finish line really well. Yeah, just draw Forest forehead. At 4 is the key number there. Play 4 Forests. It's really good. You don't need 7 bounce lands. It's a psyop by Dom Harvey to make you play more bounce. Just kidding. Dom Harvey's a great deck builder, and playing more bounce lands back in the day was correct, but we're not in the boomer days, and 6 is a perfect thing to play. I've tried 5, it was a little low. I've tried 7, it was a little high. 6 is the number. Oh, and the other thing I'll say about Boros and Jeskai is the concept of Urza's Saga boarding. Again, if you want full detailed analysis of this, go to my Patreon. But I think that keeping sagas in these matchups is something you should be striving for. Obviously, you want to. So, things that have been cut previously in this matchups: Grazers and Sagas. You want to keep a lot of Grazers. You want to keep a lot of Sagas, because Grazer into Saga early in the game is just so powerful. Like, it's such a powerful turn 1 play that either helps you take over the game, or your opponent has to interact with, and you end up with still a land on the board and a blocker. So you might think, oh, the Wrath of the Skies against my 1-of Saga is really quite detrimental, but you also have to think at the same time, your opponent took off an entire turn to cast the Wrath of the Skies, and they remove the Wrath of the Skies from their hand so they won't have it later for what you've got going on. So if you really think deeply about the theory of it, it's like your opponent took off their turn to take you off of one of your turns. Like, playing the Saga counts as your land drop for turn, counts as your turn, right? So you sort of 1-for-1 them there, even with the Wrath of the Skies. If they have a lot of Wrath of the Skies in deck, I don't recommend playing 2 Sagas out, but I totally think 1 is fine to play out 1 Saga. And honestly, yeah. And this sort of concept was introduced to me by looking at Nathan Guiltley's free sideboard guide that he posted online. There are a lot of aspects of that sideboard guide that I strongly disagree with, but it was really interesting to see like new concepts that I haven't quite like thought through or been brave enough to test, such as keeping Sagas in pretty much every matchup. I don't think I'm still quite at the Nathan level of just keeping 4 Chadley Sagas in every single matchup, but but I'm definitely trying to keep them in more heavily, and it's been doing really well. Like, the play pattern of losing it is not as bad as I thought it would be, because it causes them to remove a spell from their hand. So
yeah, Saga's quite an incredible card, and some of these decks that try and get early pressure down that have to take a turn off to like kill a Saga with one of these cards, it kind of disrupts their plan as well. So there are trade-offs.
And yeah, another person I work with very heavily is Discoto, who will tell you to cut Sagas and cut all of them every time against Boros, which
Disco will tell you to cut 5 Sagas every match.
cut 5 Sagas. And I don't think one of the other persons is necessarily right. Well, I guess one of the other person is strictly right on win rate, but you can do good cutting all your Sagas. I don't think it's that bad. But in the current build, the current iteration, I think you sort of want to force your opponent's hand to throw out their interaction so you can sort of keep beating them down with all the cards in your hand. Because you're not so much a glass cannon deck anymore like you used to be with the Explore build. You're a little more, you got a little more staying power. You got a little more say in what's happening on the board. You're like, oh, I'm going to stock up here, and you can't do much about it. So if they take their turn off to kill your Saga, Um, it's not the end of the world.
The game is yours.
And then Simic Midrange, I'll talk about it just a little bit here because I'm sure people want to hear about it. So Simic Midrange is this deck that's been popping up and has been getting a lot of traction because I do think it's really good against the top of the meta right now. Um, it's the annoying deck playing all these flares and coiling oracles and snakes and whatnot, and you just are probably not going to win that. If you do, you got very lucky. I've seen discourse on the best way to beat this deck is the construct plan. They have more bounce effects than you think. They're playing like Brazen Borrower, they're playing Sinks, Sink into Stupors. They have all these Death Touchers.
And they get out of clock, and they have some really annoying blockers like the Ice Fang Coatl, like Reed was talking about, the Death Touchers. So the construct plan feels a little sketchy. It definitely can get there. Like you can make like 4 7/7 constructs sometimes, but a lot of the time it doesn't work.
I'm kind of fully against the construct plan, and I'll tell you why. It's the abhorrent Oculus. Is you try and make
Yeah,
constructs
the
faster than the
Oculus for no
Oculus.
reason.
The issue is you in your perfect world are probably making one construct a turn. Let's be real. I don't think you're gonna have a board state where you're somehow making two a turn. And the Oculus is like, oh, I'm gonna make a creature every turn that can just block that and then hit you for 5 in the air. Like bonk. Hope you like that. Oh yeah, significant constructs, sure, buddy. Like, I really think the constructs are pretty poor and not the way to win the matchup. Um, you can what I would use them mainly as is a tool to bait your opponent into trying to remove them and then going for a cheeky line. That's how you're going to win against. And at the match that I won against Simic this week, because there's only been 2 matches that I've won, 2 total. Um, the match that I won was because I left one Scapeshift in my deck list, just to be a little cheeky, and I cast the Scapeshift and it won me the game. I had a Hex Drinker on the board, so opponent was like sort of trying to figure out ways to. They were cleaning me completely with like bouncing the Hex Drinker, putting an Oculus on the field. I had to level my Hex Drinker all the way back up. They're at like a giant life total, and I am at almost nothing already. And so the Hex Drinker obviously wasn't working, but they've spent all this mana and they're like clearly trying to beat down. And I just drew Scapeshift and just top decked it. I won the game. So be
Yeah,
cheeky is
I
the best thing
beat
because I can't advise playing more Scapeshift, but be cheeky is the best way to do it.
yeah. I beat a similar matchup, Merfolk, in game one at locals with Escape Shift, and sometimes they don't have interaction.
Sometimes it works that
But
way.
yeah. And then I got Harbingered 2 games in a row and died. But yeah. Sometimes you gotta be really aggressive into terrible matchups, which is the best way to do it in my opinion.
Anyway, I think we talked a good long while about Titan and the meta. I'm happy to wrap it up here unless you got anything else.
I am happy to wrap it up. I need to go to bed.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
But I let's see, plugs for Patreon. Go to my patreon.com/readq7, and then I stream on Twitch, which then I post some videos on YouTube. We top 8 this week, which is pretty sick. And you let your friends know about the show. I personally,
Yeah.
when I was sitting in my car, always wished there was a Titan podcast going on that I could listen to in my car instead of, random discussion about standards. So, let your Titan friends or other modern friends know about the show. Titanic Read on Spotify and is also on Apple Podcasts.
And agreed, baby. I got a plug. Check out Yarok FTW on Moxfield for some of my cool deck lists that I build. I
George's
make
deck lists.
Is it Phoenix 90 card Amulet Titan was a pretty goofy one that I made. And then just a few meta modern decks, the best lists that I found. So yeah, those are pretty cool.
The George's Phoenix build is actually super sick, and goes
It's
3-0
3-0 against Titan.
goes 3-0 like every week. So check that out if
Yeah,
you want
it's
a
so
cheeky,
good.
fun,
Yeah.
exciting build in the meta right now. All right.
Yeah, you can beat some people at local modern with it, that's for sure. I wouldn't take it to a tournament because it's pretty weak against combo, but it's very fun. And maybe it isn't that bad against combo because it kind of beat the combo decks. But yeah, I digress. Yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll catch y'all next episode.
Peace.